Hi, friends. I am sick today, so I'm sorry that I sound like this, but we have an awesome conversation coming up with Lauren Courtney. She does Reiki. She's an author. She's a certified holistic health coach. She does energy healing. She's an entrepreneur. She does all the things. You're going to love this, especially if you're a woo-woo girly like me. So let's take it away, Lauren.
When did I go full woo? The day he crossed over, he began communicating with me. I had no idea I was a medium before that. I didn't realize that there was more to life than what is here in the physical realm. That was the big push and awakening. And I have this very clear knowing that I blocked my gifts at a very young age. I didn't know and talked about this. My mediumship was coming on so strongly that I just had this knowing. I ended up building my business to a six-figure healing business. God did not ask me to promote this book. God asked me to write this book. And God handles my algorithm. It doesn't have to look one way. We're all just walking each other home.
We have Lauren here today, and Ollie is here with us if you're watching. Lauren, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yes, hi. Thank you for having me first and foremost. I am Lauren Courtney, an energy healer of many modalities, Karuna Reiki, sound healing. I've trained in body work, former and still holistic health coach, former private chef who has added author to my new title. My book is titled Glow Up Your Chakras from Medicated to Meditated, and it really brings together, it's memoir meets energy healing, meets understanding how to eat for your intuition with recipes included as well.
I love that. So it's not something I talk about a ton, but I am a woo-woo girly, and it's definitely because of my time in California. So I know we don't know each other, but I'm originally from North Carolina, and I moved to Los Angeles after college. And so I was there for a long time, and I got kind of woo-woo, and I got into all the energy healing and everything. So I'm really excited to talk to you about all of this today, and probably ask you some of my burning questions. But I think the number one thing for me is, and I know a little bit about your story, but when did you first realize that you had specific gifts?
So when did I go full woo? So it was kind of like a slow trajectory, and then it really hit. But it kind of started, I was still working in corporate America and had this inner knowing, which I understand now to be my intuition, that I was here to help people heal. So the first part of that journey looked like food. And that's when I went back to school to be a holistic health coach and private chef. I ended up working as a private chef for clients recovering from food, drug, and alcohol addiction. So I was doing that in New York City about 10, 12-ish years ago. And then 9.5 years ago, almost 10 years ago, my best friend and first love passed away. And the day he crossed over, he began communicating with me. I had no idea I was a medium before that. I thought I was simply just living life, and eventually you die. I didn't realize that there was more to life than what is here in the physical realm, and his death really awakened me to that. So that was kind of the catapult, the biggest one. There were quite a few along the journey, which I talk about in my book, but that was the big push and awakening. And his death actually led me out to LA and my time getting really woo-woo there, which is where I found Holy Fire Reiki that really catapulted my awakening further.
And explain what Holy Fire Reiki is as opposed to any of the other modalities.
Yeah, so Holy Fire Reiki, there's the traditional Usui Reiki, which has been around since really forever, but they talk about since 1933. Where Holy Fire Reiki is a newer energy and newer frequency that really came about, I believe it's like 2014, 2015. And the difference that I find is when you're studying Reiki, if you've ever taken a training or if you're looking to take trainings, with a Sui Reiki, the practitioner ignites you into the lineage by placing symbols in your hands and on your shoulders, and they touch you. So they're kind of this middleman for the healing. With Holy Fire Reiki, I simply hold this space. So I don't touch the clients during a training. They're connected directly to source. So what I love is you're going to receive your energy, your upgrades in the way that they're meant to come online in your body. as opposed to there being someone in the middle. And it's said through the lineage and teaching that this is the Reiki that was brought to us by Jesus and the ascended masters at this time. And I really see it as because no one is coming to save you. So it's really a tool for you to be your own greatest healer and for you to step into saving yourself ultimately.
Yeah, and that's really interesting because I was raised in a very conservative Christian environment here in the South, and I was actually raised Pentecostal. So as you're saying Holy Fire Reiki, I'm like, oh, because for us it's the Holy Spirit, and especially as Pentecostals, we were taught that the fire from heaven comes down and the Holy Spirit gets on us, and then that's when you run the aisles and speak in tongues and do all the stuff that my grandma did at church. That I never ever wanted, but no, I love that I am kind of seeing some of the like Christ consciousness stuff in the more woo woo world. Because for me, as someone who was raised a very conservative Christian, it kind of like bridges that gap a little bit for me.
Absolutely. And I was actually raised in a Jewish household. So Jesus was not someone I was really talking about, even though, right, it said that Jesus was a Jew. But we weren't talking about Jesus. Holy Spirit, Holy Fire, these were not terms. And it's important to understand that in Reiki and Holy Fire Reiki, these are not religious terms. As a matter of fact, these are terms that existed that then religion took, which essentially created more separation. So I've had a lot of clients over the years who were raised in strict religious households come to me to learn this specific Reiki to heal their own relationship with religion because it creates that healing of the trauma that you had related to religion and allows you to feel more comfortable in the fact that these are spiritual terms in reality.
Yeah, I've found so much that it all relates to each other at the end of the day as I like dive into meditation, and I guess I'm what you would consider a deconstructed evangelical at this point. So that means I've kind of deprogrammed myself from a lot of the things I was taught growing up. But I like to view it as, take what works and leave what doesn't. So there's things in the woo woo world that's just too far out there for me, and that's okay. But like I've got crystals all over on my desk right now, and I got my candle lit and all my things, and we do our incense in the morning, and I have my Christianity stuff that works and doesn't work. So everyone's spiritual path is totally different, and I want more people to realize like it can work for you however you want it to work. Like spirituality is such a personal journey, and mine and yours are going to look different, and we're going to have different modalities and different things that light us up and that get us closer to that, whatever that looks like. But it's okay to be different.
Absolutely. You know, you don't need crystals to be spiritual. You don't need to do Reiki to be spiritual. You don't need to meditate to be spiritual. Like my father, for instance, he's a swimmer. He loves to swim. And it took me some time on my own journey, right, to heal my own ego to be like, oh, that's your form of meditation. That's your form of, we could call it spirituality. And it gave me so much peace to be able to say, like, it doesn't have to look one way. Everyone gets to do it in a way that simply works for them because we're all human beings, right? Like we're these humans, but our souls are having the experience. So our soul knows how we need to ultimately, as Ram Dass said, like we're all just walking each other home. So it's like, pick up the things that work that people are doing that feel aligned, and also don't feel like you need to do things that everyone is doing.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like now looking back on your childhood, is there anything where you realize like, oh, maybe I did have spiritual gifts back then?
100%. And I definitely talk about that in the book. I have this very clear knowing that I blocked my gifts at a very young age. I'm extremely empathic, as you can imagine. And I was empathic as a kid. My emotions were very strong. I'm a Cancer. And I've started to really understand as I've done a lot of shadow work and figuring out like my love language and how I needed to be supported. That wasn't always available to me. It doesn't mean I wasn't supported, but I wasn't supported in the ways to allow my gifts to really flourish and open because my parents weren't aware of that, right? They weren't aware of their own spiritual gifts until I opened up mine and they could start to see that in themselves. So yeah, there were little things I remember, and I write about this in the book, an instance when I was in middle school, walking with girlfriends in a shopping center, and I like felt like a wall came up in front of me and I just had to sit down for a while. And my friends were like, like get her a soda, like, or like, do you need sugar? And it had nothing to do with that. I was just feeling really dense energy around me, but I didn't have the words for it. I didn't know what it was because I didn't know anyone that talked about this. Even, when I awakened and came out with the fact that I am a medium, it took a while because the only medium at that point I knew was the occasional TLC episode I caught of the Long Island Medium.
Yeah, exactly. All those people on TV, or like the people on TV in the middle of the night, and you're like, I'm not going to call that 1-800 number and call this like lady in a turban. So like I said, being raised in a Pentecostal environment, we were taught that if we wanted gifts, we had to ask God for them. And seeing that when I was little and seeing people speak in tongues and fall out and run around and be out of their minds terrified me when I was little. And so I always said, God, I don't want it. I don't want it. I don't want it. And now looking back, I sometimes think like, okay, what did I have? What gifts did I have that I was just begging God, please don't give this to me. I don't think I can handle it. And I too have always been really empathic and will feel it in my physical body a lot. And one story that my mom told, actually in court, they had someone that embezzled from them and they had to put them in jail. It was their assistant for like 20 years. And my mom, in her victim impact statement, said, my daughter at 10 years old came to me and said, do not hire this person. They're not a good person. Please, I don't want them around us. Please don't do it. And we did anyway. And I should have listened to her. And in that moment, I was like, maybe I am psychic. Like, what is this? But I very much pick up on people's energies so quickly. And I think for me, I don't know if I could handle strengthening those gifts at all. I think I would just fall apart.
It seems scary when we see it in such a way that is overwhelming as a child, right? Like if I had seen that in church, I don't know if I would have ran towards it or ran away from it. But I think the beautiful thing is we can control it and we can decide how much, how fast, how intense, right? It's the same, like when we're dealing with our spiritual gifts, I often compare it to if you were like, I want to build my biceps. You're not just like going to go to the gym once and be like, oh my God, I have this huge bicep. It's going to take time. It's going to take work. It's going to take focus. It's going to take intention. It's going to take showing up. And you decide, do I want to go to the gym once a week and like really build this slowly? Or am I there 3 times a week, eating my protein, doing the things and building and strengthening that muscle? So that's what I love really about our intuition is we decide how quickly. And Reiki is similar. When you get initiated into the Holy Fire lineage, it's going to come online really fast if that's what your soul and spirit ultimately want. And also it will trickle and be a little slower if that's truly what your soul wants. And that's between you and your connection to God. Like me as a teacher and the one that's holding space, I don't decide that. That is all your highest self in the connection with God.
Yeah. And so when you're practicing the Holy Fire Reiki, I know you said it's different than a more traditional Reiki. You're not putting the hands on the person. So in that instance, are you just being this facilitator for the person to open like that channel for them? Or what does that look like?
So when I say I don't touch, that's more in the training and
Oh, okay.
teaching other people. When I'm working with people in a one-on-one session or a group session, I often don't touch either, but occasionally I can. But essentially, I am a channel for God, angels, guides, loved ones to come through and allow the healing to move through me. So it's almost like I move out of the space, my ego is removed, and I'm simply allowing source to move through me in the session.
Okay, great. I love this. I'm going to have to like do a deep dive into all of this after we get off. Okay, so let's talk about your founder journey a little bit. So, I know you talk about it in your book, and you probably don't want to get into it too far here, but you had somebody very important that you lost, and you discovered, like, I'm having issues with drugs. Like, I got to stop this. So take us after that, how you kind of recovered and jumped into your entrepreneur journey.
It wasn't that I was necessarily an addict, and that's something I needed to figure out for myself. When I was 17 years old, maybe even 16, well, actually, let me peel it back a little further. When I was in ninth grade, I started being prescribed Adderall. I had ADHD. I was classified. So I started taking Adderall at that time. Around the same time, I also started consuming cannabis to balance out the Adderall because I couldn't eat. Like, I'd get home, I couldn't eat. I wouldn't have eaten all day. Doctors then also tried to give me like anxiety medication to balance it. And all of a sudden, I was on all these pills for mental things, but I didn't know that I had this need for it, right? But this was what society was doing at this time. And then when I turned 17, I had my first of what was 3 jaw surgeries. I had really bad TMJ. The joints in my jaw were misaligned, and essentially had my first surgery at 17. So from 17 years old to about 26 years old, I was prescribed painkillers, muscle relaxers, anti-inflammatories. At that point, I also knew how to rig the system, that I was getting Klonopin, I was getting Ambien, you name it, I had access to it.
At that time, you're just a young girl and they trust you. They're just like, oh, she must really be in pain. Like, we have to help her.
And I was in pain. I didn't have surgery for no reason. I couldn't really open my mouth wide. I'm from New York, and eating a bagel was impossible. Chewing a steak, I had to cut it up into little bites. So I was prescribed medicine for this long period of time. And when I had reconstructive jaw surgery. So my jaw broken, rubber banded shut when I was 24 years old, just as I was turning 25. And at that point, I decided I'm done. I'm not taking any more medication anymore. But I continued to medicate with cannabis, and that became my codependent relationship of, well, I'm not feeling 100% out of pain, but I don't want to take pills. So I'm going to go this direction. And when my ex passed away, it brought my awakening on even deeper. And as I said, I moved out to LA. And when I was out there, I ended up working as a spiritual advisor to a cannabis brand.
Oh my
So,
Lord, it's full circle.
so out in
But
LA.
also the most LA thing you could ever do, I think. That's the most LA job.
Yes. And it was such a gift, because I felt like once I moved out to LA, I fully just stopped drinking alcohol. It wasn't even a thought. I blacked out a lot in my 20s, and I talk about that in the book as well, and the relationship to drinking spirits and letting spirits in. So I moved out to LA, kind of gave up drinking, not even on purpose, was definitely medicating. And then ultimately I moved to Miami 7 years ago. And within a month of being in Miami, I ended up getting sober. My mediumship was coming on so strongly that I just had this knowing that it first started with alcohol, because I got to Miami. I went out for a few cocktails, nothing major, but I had this awareness. I was sitting one night having a glass of rosé with a friend, and across the bar was this older man. And I had this feeling like, oh my God, I love this man so much. And it was so intense and so strong, and this deep love. And it took me out of being present with my friend who I was sitting with. And then the man left about 15, 20 minutes later. And as he left, I was seated by the door. I felt this whisper that was outside of me that was saying, I love you. And I realized it was his wife that had passed away that was trying to deliver the message to him. Because I used to do a lot of just delivering messages to people, but I had kind of stopped doing that when I got to Miami. I was trying to put boundaries on the spirit world. And, in LA, it's different.
Yeah, that's a lot. I mean, everybody will come up to you in LA and they're like, in Ralph's, I just need to tell you your dead grandma said X, Y, and Z, whatever. But like, also, I've heard a lot of people say if you have those gifts, it's really fucking exhausting to just be on all the time and just be inundated all the time. So you do have to set up those boundaries.
Yeah. And the way it was actually an acupuncturist that I was going to at the time said to me, she's like, Lauren, it's like you have a front door and the screen door. And your screen door is closed, but you haven't shut the front door. So these things are still getting in the screen. So when I chose to give up alcohol at that point, it was like, okay, we're closing the door. I didn't really have a plan or a knowing of how long that would be or what it would look like. And then a few weeks later, it was like, okay, and I also want you to give up cannabis for 33 days. I was like, okay. And that turned into 5 years. I didn't, again, it wasn't a plan. It was just inner knowing and inner guidance. And at that point, I ended up building my business to a 6-figure healing business. It was incredible. And then fast forward 3.5 years ago, 4 years ago, my grandmother passed away. And when she crossed over, she came through very strongly. You need to slow down. You're going to burn out again. You've built this business still on an unhealed root chakra, and now it's time to go deeper into your work. And ultimately, that's led me to slowing down, seeing clients, and writing the book. So it's been a beautiful journey. And then at the same time, she also guided me to let substances back in. And the reason I now understand I let substances back in was because it helped me get to the shadows that I hadn't yet seen. And to do it in a way that felt safe for me. And it's not right for everyone, but it was correct for me. And now here I am 6-7 months post book release, and I find myself I can't use that word sober anymore because it just doesn't resonate with me. I'm more in a place of I am with so much substance without substances.
Yeah.
And
you're intentional about substances.
Exactly. So I'm very much living a sober life, but it's for a very different reason because I was able to find the root trauma of why I was choosing substances in the first place. I actually knew that there was a misalignment in my body. And a year ago, I got diagnosed with a tongue tie, which should have been diagnosed at birth.
Yeah, I was going to say when you're a baby.
Yes. And likely is actually what led to my jaw surgeries because my tongue was never on the roof of my mouth resting properly. So I wasn't in connection with my vagus nerve and I was living in a constant state of fight or flight. Even though I was doing all this work, like I'd get out of it, but it didn't matter. I'd always find my way back into it because my body was literally set up that way because it was so tight and it was a pretty bad tongue tie that went undiagnosed for 41 years of my life.
Oh my gosh.
So now that I had the tongue tie released back in May of this year and my body has integrated to a place that now if I consume substances, my body actually rejects it. And as before, my mind's like, no, we don't want this anymore. We feel safe. So don't bring us into an unsafe place where that used to be what helped me feel really grounded and, just comfortable so often in my body because I was in such discomfort.
That is mind blowing to me. Like, I'm trying to think, like, you basically, your whole life was just in dis-ease just because that one tiny little thing that someone didn't catch. Like, oh my gosh, so wild.
Literally.
Tell us like what your day-to-day looks like now, like working with clients or do you do retreats? What does all of that look like?
Yeah, so day to day, I don't think any day is ever similar. But right now, I've actually, because since the book came out, I took a little time just to focus on that and how I wanted to show up and share. And it's shifted my work. I actually just launched a free class every Thursday called Reiki Recovery because I want people to understand it doesn't have to be black and white. It doesn't have to be a 12-step program. It doesn't have to be that you are an addict. It might simply be there's dis-ease in your body and misalignment, and finding that thread to heal yourself is a really big priority for me. And then the way I work with clients is 8-week programs where we kind of rewrite the story to rewire the brain, because we hold on to so much old stories and the old conditioning, whether it's from parents, friends, teachers, loved ones, or stuff we even bring in from past lifetimes. Like, I know that my tongue tie is something I came into this life with to essentially ascend, to find my voice, which is my purpose in this life, to share my truth, to share my voice, to help others find freedom. I also understand that things that happened in this lifetime very much needed to happen because they were connected to my lineage and healing my lineage. So the work is so layered, whether we're doing stuff to heal karma from past lifetimes, whether we're doing stuff to heal our lineage to create further ascension. That's what I focus on with my clients.
That's so cool.
Yeah, retreats are coming. They're coming. I've been saying this for some time, and I believe 2026 is really the year that I'll start hosting retreats.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love a retreat. So you holler at me when you're ready, girlfriend. What are like 2 to 3 things that we, especially as female founders, can do just to help with that dis-ease in our bodies? So like I have to journal every single morning before I do my work to-do list, because I will get all my word vomit out. That way my brain is clear. So I'm not going into my day super stressed. And I try to meditate in the morning. So those are things that I do. But what are some things that you recommend that we can do just to like get ourselves out of that fight or flight every day?
So I love that. I'm definitely a journal girly. I have been a journaler for years. I got a whole stack of them. So that is definitely one of my favorite tools. Something that I think is really important every night is taking a shower before you go to bed, to clear your energy from the day, to clear up anyone you may have been around, any conversations you've had. And I like to just picture it's like a white light pouring down on me, because then I'm sleeping in that really clean frequency, because we want good sleep. We need good sleep. So that is definitely number one. And number two is it goes in alignment. And it's something I continuously work on, is making sure your phone is not in your bedroom, or at least not next to your bed. Making sure you take that hour in the morning to set your intention, to set your thoughts, whether you're journaling or you do a meditation or you're just visualizing what you want your day to look like, what you want the week to look like. And then the same with going to bed, just getting off the screens, because there is so much we're consuming. Even if it's not social media and you're watching a show, those things end up leaking into your dreams, and then you're not in your full energy. So really making sure you start the day and end the day in your energy is key for me.
I love those. And then let's talk a little bit about all the woo-woo devices that are out there now. So like the pimp mats or the grounding mats and all these things. Are there any out there that you like swear by? And are there any that you're just like, that's hocus pocus? Like I love a red light. I love a red light. I will do a red light every day. Do I think it does anything? Unclear, but I love it. I feel like a little baby chicken under it.
I love that. I do love a red light. I love a sauna. But I think first and foremost, it's listening to your body and what your body actually needs. Like for me, I'm in New York right now. I'm here for a month. And prior to coming up here, I was going to hot Pilates 3 to 5 days a week because my body was really craving that with all the alignment I was going through. Now I'm in New York and I'm kind of like, oh, I just want to be in my Kundalini yoga practices and more in my breath work. And that feels really good to me right now. So I think it's like having a toolbox and then being able to pull out the tool you need and not being so rigid. I've been very rigid. Like when I was sober for 5 years, I was very rigid. It has to look a certain way. I have to do these things. Otherwise I'm going to fuck up. And now it's like, no, sweetie, do the things that feel good for you today. If you don't want to sit down and meditate this morning, that doesn't feel good, throw on a meditation track, go for a walk, be in flow if you need to be in flow. So that's kind of what I would say as far as like physical tools The one thing that I have that I've kind of always go back to is I have an amethyst heating pad.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
and I love to lay on that for grounding, whether it's like after a session or when I'm on my moon cycle. Cause I just like, who doesn't love a heating pad? Like, it
Yeah.
just reminds me of being a kid somehow. Like, oh, it's a sick day. I have the
I
heating pad.
literally have one behind my back. It's a shoulder one. And I sit here. The only reason why I don't have it on is because I'm on camera. I sit here and it's so like, it just melts my shoulders down. So I'm not like this all day long.
Yes. Yeah. So heating pads.
I love it. I love it. And those are easy things. Like you don't have to get a fancy amethyst one. You can just get one at Target. Like just I love the toolkit thing because that's what I tell people all the time. And I know when I was in Los Angeles, I was working at these huge entertainment agencies and I was in such fight or flight and I was knee deep in an eating disorder. I was suicidal and just everything was going wrong mentally. I could not get myself out of it. And I realized I was trying to dive full force into all of these modalities and like getting up every morning at 5:30 and doing a meditation and journaling and then working out and then doing everything else. But now looking back, I'm like, I probably made my disease even worse because I was trying to force myself out of fight or flight. And sometimes you just have to stop. And it sounds like that's what you're doing with the kundalini of it all.
Yeah. It's so easy to get overwhelmed by all of the things, right? Like right now, like if you look at social media, we need a weighted vest, we need to be eating more protein, we need to be taking microdosing GLP-1s
Yeah.
or 5s or
And
whatever, right?
creatine and all this stuff.
There's so much out there. And for me, it creates a lot of overwhelm. And I come out of disconnection from my crown chakra, my connection to God, my connection to source, because now I'm overwhelmed by all the things. And oh, do I need this? Do I need this? And it's like, get out of your head, come back to your heart. And I will say this, the easiest tool I wouldn't say it's free because it costs us money to do it, but it is something we need to do no matter what every day, is cooking, learning
Oh,
to cook for
absolutely.
yourself. Learning, and I talk about how to eat for your intuition, how to feed your chakras in the book, and I share recipes because that was my first healer when I didn't even know I was healing. Because when you slow down and you take the time to cook a meal, you're feeding yourself. You're nourishing yourself. So it's also important. What is your mindset when you're cooking that meal? As someone who struggled with body dysmorphia and binge eating, it was really negative self-talk, really negative around food. So I got to rewire and reprogram all of that to have a totally different relationship with food, with the kitchen, with the intention. Even like I bought this matcha this morning. I didn't make it. So I decide to take a moment to just thank you so much for all of the energy in here, honoring it, clearing the energy, and knowing it's for my highest good. So I try to do that with all of the things that I eat and ingest in life, because it's not just food we're digesting, it's also our relationships. It's everything in our life can create that dis-ease. So it's really that holistic approach.
I love what you're saying about the food, and it immediately takes me back to this Southern tradition of like a prayer cake. So if somebody's going through something, somebody's grandma's going to make a cake and she's going to pray over it the whole time she's making it. And so it's just this cake full of like prayer and love for healing. And once again, I'm like, see, we're a bunch of woo-woo Appalachians down here.
And that's the thing, right? But like, if you're told it's religious, then it's religious. And you're telling me this, I'm like, oh, I'm going to start making prayer cakes for my
Right?
friends.
Yeah.
And
And like,
you with a Southern accent.
yeah, I'm making you a prayer cake. That's what you have to do. I'll teach you. Don't worry. I'll teach you how to say it. But yeah, it's such this beautiful thing. Or like when someone's sick, we'll take a casserole or whatever. And the thing is you're going to pray over it for them and talk healing into it for them. And then, I've seen all these people say, oh, you're supposed to do that to your water. You're supposed to speak healing into your water or whatever before you drink it. And I'm like, this is all the same. We're all the same at the end of the day. Just some white man somewhere along the way has told us that we shouldn't do this or that we were going to hell if we did this. But it's really all the same stuff.
It is. It is. And like the more we can understand that, the more we release the religious trauma that, we picked up unknowingly. And it just becomes like, oh, okay, great. Like I don't have to think that this is woo woo or religious. This is just energetics, right? Like this is actually science also. It's spirituality, it's science, it's all of the things.
Yeah. Okay, now let's get nerdy and talk about your book. So, did you self-publish? Did you get it published? Because I have a lot of experience in book PR. So this is a world I know. And people always come to me because they think I'm a publisher. I'm like, I'm a publicist, not a publisher. Not the same thing. If you get a book, I will promote it, but I can't print that book. So tell us about the whole book journey.
So it started out initially about 7 years ago. I thought it was going to be just a chakra healing cookbook. And then I took time off from writing, was really focused on working with clients. And then, as I mentioned, when my grandmother passed, she was like, it's time to write the book. I didn't realize the book was going to change so much, and it became memoir meets chakra healing and the extension of the recipes and eating for your intuition. So when the book started shaping in this new way, I found an editor to work with. I then ended up meeting someone who is like a self-publishing guru, kind of. That's her thing. She helps people self-publish. She's written 10 of her own books. And I was deciding in that moment, and I'd been asking God for a sign before I met her. Which direction do I go? Like I had my proposal ready to start sharing and pitching. And I also was like, do you want me to self-publish? And I met this woman and decided after multiple conversations with many people that self-publishing was the route for me. I knew I didn't want to wait 1.5 to 2 years for the book to actually hit shelves. I didn't want to wait to be chosen, quote unquote.
All the red tape.
Yes, because I was choosing myself. And I tell some really raw stories in the book, and I didn't want those stories to be changed. I didn't want to have my voice silenced in any area, because I do talk about pharmaceutical drugs. I do talk about drugs in general. I talk about things that maybe would have had to be shifted a little bit, and I wasn't willing to do that. So I decided to go the self-publishing journey, found an incredible artist to do the cover with me and the interior design, and move forward and self-published.
I love it. Okay. And then after you published it, did you put it just directly on Amazon? How did you sell it? And then like what was your promotion strategy around it?
So, so I directly published to Amazon, decided not to do expanded distribution. Initially I had decided not to, because my plan is still to put it on Ingram Sparks, but I haven't done that yet. But like my intuition is like, that's the next step. We'll get there. Initially I just promoted, of course, to friends, families, clients, my newsletter, my email list, and I sold like 300 copies or so in the first 2 months, which is a self-published author. I've
That's
learned
awesome.
it's
Yeah.
really good. And doing podcast interviews. But here's the thing. Everyone I knew, like, you need to be doing this, you need to be doing that, you need to be doing events here, you need to be doing events there, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, no. God did not ask me to promote this book. God asked me to write this book. And God handles my algorithm, and God will tell me when to move when it's time to move. So interestingly enough, the week after my book came out, I actually went into prenatal yoga teacher training, which was my own extension of my rebirth from the tongue tie. The day after that training ended, I had my tongue tie released.
Oh my gosh, that is wild.
So it was like I wrote this first part of my life, put it on the shelf, and then went through my rebirthing of who would I be if I never went through what I needed to experience. And it's like, here it is. Like, this is what happened because, and now I'm living in the who am I after. So it's interesting. I ended up kind of taking the last 6 months not promoting the book much, sharing on social media, doing some podcast episodes. But in the last month, I've really been revving up. Like God's like, okay, now it's time. And I know I'm going to record an audiobook because people have continuously asked me, but I didn't want to do it until after my body felt really good to do it. Cause obviously a lot of talking, a lot of
Oh yeah.
breathing, a lot of using the tongue. So it was a very different process than I thought it would be. And I'm really grateful for it because society would tell me it has to look one way, but I have learned through my spiritual journey, like, fuck what society tells you, listen to your intuition, trust your process, and it will end up exactly where it needs to be.
I love that so much. And I mean, books always find us when we need them the most. And so it sounds like that's just going to be this case, and that's fine. And like, I always tell clients when they come to me and they have a book, they're like, I released this book 2 years ago and I haven't done anything with it. I'm like, great, you still have a book. Like, we can still do stuff with it. We don't have to say it was released yesterday. Like, it's an evergreen tool that you can use. And you will now forever be an author. Even if you sell one more copy and never sell another one again, you're still an author. So it still helps with your credibility. And you have it as a case study, and you have this thing there where, people, if they meet you and they really love you, they can go and buy it so you can be with them all the time.
Absolutely. And I've had some interest, actually, I won't say from where, but overseas about taking the book and adapting it to a foreign language. And I'm just still working out the details of all of that. But so my point is, like, it ends up where it needs to be because I never was thinking, oh, I'm going to have it adapted into another language and it'll be sold in another country. And I'm like, oh my God, someone emailed me to do that. And right, like, not my plan, God's plan.
Exactly. Exactly. And some of that too, like, is kind of how I do PR. Like, I do so much of it intuitively. Like, yes, I've been in PR for 15 years. I know what's going to work and what's not going to work. And sometimes my clients will think like, oh my God, she's being an asshole. Cause I'm like, nope, nope, nope. But like, intuitively in my gut, in my body, I can feel that's not right. I have to poke holes in it before it goes out into the world and is seen. And we never know how things are going to turn out. And I'm gonna give them a scope of work, but I'm like, we will figure it out. We're gonna go with God. Like, if I start sending emails and it feels gross and it feels off, we're just gonna figure it out, which is not always the easiest thing to try to sell somebody on, especially when you're trying to get thousands of dollars a month from them. But it works, it works. And like, I don't know. I just love the book strategy. It makes me sad that I can't sell that to people because I'm like, yeah, we'll just figure it out. We'll figure it out. I can't do that. I wish I could.
I know. I mean, that's how I've always felt like with my healing work. I'm like, listen, we're going to do what we need to do. You just got to trust the process because I don't know until we open up the energetic space and the container together, which it sounds like that's how it is for you too. Until you're in contract with that client, you don't really know the full energy and scope of the energy because that's what it comes down to. So I love that you're like, yeah, I don't want to open up my gifts. And I'm like, hello, you
I
are
know.
using your gifts just in a
Yeah.
different way.
Yeah. Maybe I need to like do some SEO on my website and really rebrand it or something. But I like, so much of it for me is intuitive. Um, and I try to tell clients that, and they're just like, okay, whatever. And I'm like, it's probably just because I've been doing this long enough and I've seen it all. I mean, I've covered up so many DUIs and just weird celebrity stuff and worked Weinstein parties and everything else, which that's probably, even saying that's probably going to get me flagged because they made me take stuff off the internet when I was like 25. But I think I'm probably safe now. He's in jail. But yeah, like, I've done it all. I've seen it all at this point. I know it's going to work. And at the end of the day, for me, PR is so human. Like, it's truly like, how are you relating to the public? And I'm definitely different than a lot of other publicists in that way because I'm like, no, let's just pull out the human aspect of it. We are all humans at the end of the day. We are all exhausted. We all hate our lives. The world's on fire. We're all poor. So let's just give people something that's going to make them happy or be a resource to them. So that's how I try to lead. And we'll see. We'll see if it gets me to 7 figures, but 6 figures is fine too.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. So my background actually was in events and personal assistance for professional athletes, and I worked at creative artist agency.
Oh,
So
yep.
So I have a background in marketing and I'm really aware of like a traditional marketing scope of work. And I think that's, so many people have said that's why you've been able to build a successful business as a healer. I'm like, yes, and I work directly with God. Like, I don't like if like I can make a marketing plan, but I will wipe that whole thing out if God's like, hey, I handle your algorithm now. So I'll take the lead. And I'm like, okay, I can trust and lean into my faith and God because that ultimately is what's going to carry me more than my ego telling me, when I wrote this book, I was like, I want to be a Hay House writer. That's what I need. Right. But that's what my ego wanted and desired. It doesn't mean that if Hay House reached out now and was like, hey, we want to buy your book. And sure, like I'd be open to negotiating and discussions. But at the beginning and end of the day, none of that fucking matters anymore. Like none of it matters. Like all that matters is that I am in alignment with my truth. And anytime that anytime I try to push versus allowing it to flow, that's when I know this is incorrect. And it's like, slow down, sweetie. Let it happen how it's meant to.
Yeah, and the push is really something for me. I've realized anytime I've ever tried to pitch a client, like go out and find a client and pitch them, I never get it. Or it happened one time where I actually got the client, but everybody else is referrals. Everybody else finds me somehow or is a referral. And every time I lose a client, if I don't freak out, then I trust the process, within a week, 2 weeks, I get that money back in some way. If it's two more clients, both at lower rates, or a huge client or a 1-day project, something, it always flows back. And so I've really had to tell myself, like, okay, it's okay to be YOLO. It's okay to just go with the flow because it will all come back if you're doing the right thing. And I think you and I are both in jobs where, or at least have built careers where we care so much about other people. And we're not doing it to try to get rich or to try to be on the New York Times bestseller list. We're doing it to help people and to be a resource for people. And when you build your business around that, that's when you're going to be successful.
Absolutely. You know, I love what you said because I've always been a referral based person. And I was thinking about it. I was out for a walk 2 days ago and I was like, when was my business like thriving the most? Like, when did I feel the most abundant? And this one client popped into my mind and I was like, oh, she was working with me and referred her husband and 3 of her friends. And lately, there's so many conversations about marketing around me and business and send this email and send that email. And I'm like, no, I think what actually works the best for me is hosting a free weekly class where people can simply receive because that's what I need to be doing from a soul perspective because I know clients will always show up, whether it's referral or they find this free thing or the thing I left on YouTube and they want to go deeper with me. So, and like, I will say, I have wanted to be on the New York Times bestseller list. And I was like,
It's okay.
I was going to be a #1 New York Times bestseller with this book. But it was never about the title so much as I want this book to get in the hands of the people who really are ready to receive it. And then it's also knowing, hey, that might not be this moment. And I think of books like one of my favorite books is 2 of them, I'll say, like Louise Hay, How to Heal Your Life. And there's another book, Many Lives, Many Masters. And these are 2 books that I refer to people all the time. And these are books that have been around for at least like 30 years and continue to be best-selling books. And they may not have been right off the bat, but they worked their way there. So I was able to come to a place like, Lauren, this book might not be for everyone right now, but everyone will receive this book when they're ready for it. And that to me is enough because if 300, 400 people already have copies of it, I know that the ripple that's created is ultimately the biggest part.
Exactly. And like when people come to your free weekly sessions, they're going to get a taste of you. If it's in alignment with them, they'll want to be a client, or at the very least, they'll go and buy the book for $20, $30, you know? So they'll make a small investment in you. And then it really is that ripple effect. And I love what you said about you would rather just host the free weekly sessions because you don't even know this. I started hosting a free happy hour for female founders in Raleigh in April, and everyone's like, you need to monetize it. You need to monetize it. And I'm like, no, I want a free space for people to come in. The clients will come if they do. Like I will get the money back tenfold. I just have to be a resource for people. I know people are lonely right now and we don't always feel supported as female founders. So let's come into a room and have some Costco wine and some cheese and let's just gossip to each other. And so I totally understand that. And people again keep saying, why haven't you monetized? Why haven't you monetized? At this point, we have like 300 women who have attended. And I'm like, no, the money will come. I will be taken care of. I just want to be a resource right now.
Yeah. And I think that's what's so beautiful, and there's also ways, right, that it's like, I can keep this free and create a membership level for those that want. But it's like, don't worry about what it looks like. Like if you build it, they will come, right?
Yep.
Like, so it's like, build it and then God will give you the next steps when it's time. But there's no need to rush the process when it's not meant to be rushed in the first place.
Exactly. Okay, we'll close out on one question. Let's be silly. So what is like the silliest, stupidest mistake that you have made as a business owner?
Oh God. It's funny. I think of like one back when I was a chef, so that's not a good one. Silliest mistake as a business owner. So I'm a 3-5 in human design, which means
Okay.
I'm a martyr heretic. So
I'm a 4-6.
amazing. So you know that
I don't know what it means.
Well, the 6 line is similar to the 3 line. Like I'm here to throw spaghetti against the wall and see what sticks. So I think the silliest thing I've ever done is be rigid and forget that my purpose is actually to have fun and play and experiment and think that if someone didn't sign up for something, it's a failure. It's like, no. These are all lessons. Like everything is an opportunity to learn and grow. And anytime I think that I'm not learning, that's the fucking silliest thing I can do.
Yeah. I love that. Well, we had a lady, and I've said it on literally everyone. She has a patient advocacy support group. So essentially, if someone's having hospital bill issues, she'll help handle it. She like dialed in all of her SEO and kept saying healthy discharge. And she didn't know that she needed to say healthy hospital discharge. And she was getting all of these website visits. And then her husband was like, you just say discharge like 1,000 times. And then they looked up the search terms and they're like, oh, no. This is not it.
That is a hilarious mistake.
It's my favorite.
I love that woman. God bless.
Yeah.
Like that is,
I know.
and like that, like to me, like that is so great. Like it's so great when we can learn from those experiences.
And it didn't hurt anything. It was just funny. And then she got to release this like silly apology video. And she's like, I hope you find the help you need, but it's not here,
I love
it. Okay, well, cool, Lauren. So tell everybody where to find you on the internet. I say internet like an old person. Tell us where to find you online and how, like, give us a call to action, all that fun stuff.
Yeah, so you can find me. My website is Lauren Courtney Heals, HEALS.com. On Instagram and Threads at I am Lauren Courtney. If you head to my website, I've got some free courses. I've got tons of sound healings that you can access. And if you've got questions, always feel free to reach out. I am a support. And of course, we've got the Thursdays Reiki Recovery, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can sign up online and see me there.
And buy her book. It's on Amazon, correct?
It is on Amazon.
Okay, perfect. All right. Well, thank you, Lauren. Thanks for being our friend today.
Thank you so much.
All right, friends. How awesome was that conversation? I learned a lot. Hopefully you did too. I cannot wait to go to her Reiki recovery sessions. And she did send me Glow Up Your Chakras, her book. I read the first 2 chapters. It is juicy. Please check her out. all of her links are in the show notes. And if there's one thing I can tell you, it's figure out a way to get out of fight or flight. It's something I've been very intentional about the last few years, and it's completely saved me mentally and physically, just regulating my nervous system and getting out of fight or flight, especially as a female entrepreneur. So go find Lauren, check her out, use her services, and we'll catch you next time. Like and subscribe to my podcast. It's Unhinged.